In a world where artificial intelligence, particularly generative AI, is impacting the field of management education, we at the Telegraph Online Edograph are excited to bring to you a discussion on this topic with Mr. Rahul Dasgupta, Director of Globsyn Business School. Welcome, Rahul.
Thank you.
Can you explain to us as to why artificial intelligence is becoming such a driving force in management education today?
Before I talk about why it has become a driving change in management education, let us understand what artificial intelligence as the new gen technology revolution is bringing to the table for all of us, right? So for the first time, compared to all the technology that has existed before, you have a technology that has a capability to learn. When you look at history, there have always been evolution in terms of tech, right? So we had web come up, then we have web 2.0 come up. None of those technologies ever learned by itself. But if you look at AI, particularly generative AI, right, is one technology that self-learns through multiple prompting, through multiple data, through multiple inputs. So it is a significant deviation from earlier technologies. So I just want to first mention that. From a management education perspective, it opens up a lot of opportunity for youngsters to learn and be very effective. It not just opens up for the children, but it also opens up for the tutors and the teachers to teach more innovatively and creatively, right? So it does have a large impact. How it is actually implemented within a university structure or a business school structure is what one needs to really think deeply about. When you look at it from a Globsyn perspective, we are a postgraduate ecosystem, 23 years. MBAs go and join the industry from our institution. So sooner than later, every organization will start using their products integrated with AI.
Yeah. That brings us to the question of ethical implementation or usage of AI, right?
Correct.
What is your take on that?
See, when you look at the word ethics, it basically means that whoever's work you're doing, you're giving credit to them. So when you're looking at ethical AI, if I sort of merge that definition with AI, that would mean that there are two sides of the coin. One is knowing where a particular LLM is drawing its data from, okay? Looking at the data security part of it, looking at the algorithm that it's using, whether those algorithms have any biases or not, giving credit to LLMs if we are using it to generate content out of it. These would all form a part of ethical AI, right? And fundamentally what that does to the society, if you're following governance structures like that, people will build more trust on it. Right? Because you know where it's coming from. The challenge happens is when you're not ethical about it, because it can really go haywire. We're trying to design a framework where it allows our teachers as well as our students to use generative AI ethically.
So could you tell us a little bit more about how important it is to structure a prompt, that is prompt engineering?
Yeah, the way, first let's understand how a large language model works, right? So there is an input, there is a process, and there's an output. I'm just really going macro.
Simplifying it.
Right? The question is, what is the input, right? What's the source of the data? How clean is it? What's going into it? How many data points are going into it? Stuff like that. Then comes, what's the algorithm? How is it refined? What does it do, right? And then once the output is derived, is it a clean output? Is it accurate? Who regulates it? Right? So these are the three sort of steps for an LLM. You have to simplify it. This is where prompting becomes very, very critical. Because if you can be so specific in what you want, then you will actually circumvent the biases. But the beauty of prompt engineering is that there is a technical side to it, but there's also a generic side to it. And as a business school, this year we have a masterclass in AI. And every student, whether you're coming from a BBA background or BCom background, you go through prompt engineering or prompting. We teach them prompting because they need that when they go out and start working.
For instance, you meet with a lot of students every day. You would probably also be meeting with parents and educators. So with respect to AI and each category's adoption of this technology? What has been your experience so far?
So I think the current generation, the Gen Zs, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They are born in it. They'll be a master of it. They'll figure it out and be very effective in it as well. And they are very heterogogic. They're self-learners when it comes to technology. The parents are earlier generation, so they have seen the migration, so they might have certain biases.
Yeah.
They'll be the ones with opinions. What is good, what is not good, and how much you should use, how much you should not use. And for them, depending on where they are in their life, adoption may be a challenge.
Yeah.
Educators on the other side who are in a senior role, if they have remain relevant and current, they will be open to embracing it and figuring it out. And I think a lot of them are trying to do that. And so, the beauty of a society is you have all of them.
Yeah.
And because you have all of them, you will be able to come out with a version of application of generative AI which is sustainable.
So how does Globsyn Business School differentiate itself from other business schools in catering to this particular aspirational need of a lot of youngsters?
It's important for an institution to build a learner-centric model of teaching. Otherwise, you remain a teacher-centric model.
Yes.
Having said that, as a postgraduate ecosystem, you're fundamentally teaching adults. And adults can't be taught unless and until they have the intention to learn. Intention is very, very important. If you look at the journey from undergrad to postgrad, most of the youngsters come to a postgrad ecosystem to fundamentally get a good job and sort of start their careers. So for that, what they do is they look for good infrastructure, good teachers, research or whatever, or placements.
Yeah.
They give a lot of emphasis on placements and packages and averages, right?
Yes.
And in that list, there's no learning, right? So their intention is jobs, not learning, which is why a lot of institutions suffer with placements. So in Globsyn, what we do is we understand that they come with that mindset. And right in the beginning, we try to pivot that. And then we guide them as to how they can pivot from wanting to get a job to learning and understanding that the job is a byproduct of it. And if we can successfully make that pivot, we will never have, and we have never had actually, problems with placements. So that's our USP. And when we are doing this from an academic perspective, we bring in technology on one side, and we also bring in human values on the other side.
What with the coming of the new education policy, NEP 2020, a lot of emphasis is being placed on pivoting again from more of textual learning to skill-oriented learning, applicability enhanced learning. So I believe Globsyn Business School would also be incorporating that spirit in their infrastructure and in their pedagogical structure.
This is something actually my dad came up in, I'm talking about some 10-15 years ago. It was called the Knowledge Finishing School System. And we had 4 components of it called AAMP, Acquisition, Application, Manage and Perform. And we apply that even today after so many years. So in the class, a teacher does not teach more than 20 minutes. Because knowledge acquisition is 20 minutes. Then they need to pivot to application. Then they need to pivot to managing. And then they need to check the performance. And if the performance is poor, they need to go back to the cycle. What you're referring to, the skill part of it, is the industry component. So the industry component we tackle through either corporate connects, where industry people come and engage with them. We have boardroom simulation, that's another way of industry engagement. Or we have vocational skill programs, depending on the engagement on the industry we are talking about. Right? So the students have all 3 options. Right? We also encourage them to use SWAYAM, which is something that AICT encourages you to use, and they have lots of amazing courses. So when you look at multiple ways a student can learn, right, which is getting into the application part of it after the theory, and then you're given something to manage based on that learning and the theory, and then you're tested on it, right? So that's the way one learns in GBS, after knowing what their preferred way of learning is.
Yeah.
So it's fairly detailed oriented. That's how it differentiates us from a postgrad perspective with any other business school.
So Rahul, any parting thoughts on the discussion we had today?
I think the higher education ecosystem throws across an amazing opportunity both for institutions as well as for learners. The other area for us has been the cost of learning and the access of good quality teaching. And I think all of us in Bengal or in general in India must be wary of the cost of learning that students have, so that they have less burden on them as they go and join industry, and they're able to build an ecosystem which is sustainable for them. And also, if they are able to do that effectively, we become a sustainable ecosystem as well as a institution collectively.
Thank you so much for ending on that highly optimistic note. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you.